Roughly half a year ago, we covered things in video games that, in our experiences, were unique in regards to what we've played. Stuff like the Mario Kart DS snaking mechanic and the Halo Trilogy plasma pistol. This time around, we're going no bars held, covering our favorite things in regards to games that we've played. We're keeping it to 10 items per person as per usual, and I've got myself and 2 others. This is also going to be highly subjective and cater to our playstyles and interests. You may disagree on some of these things, but don't be a jerk about it. Without further ado, let's get started. I own the Oculus Rift Consumer Version 1, which is the original 2016 launch model of said headset family. Ever since I got Steam VR, I've always done it sitting down. This has its ups and downs. For one, it's easy on my body, since I'm not spending energy standing up and moving around. But to that positive, it's also rather difficult to grab things that are on the ground in, let's say, H3 VR. Sure, there's the gravity glove mechanic that there is in Half-Life Alyx, but that can be unreliable at times. But that's where OVR advanced settings come in, and a sneaky little setting called Playspace Mover. Bind it to a button on one of your controllers and move in any direction of your choosing. I mostly bind this to just the up and down axis so I can seamlessly crouch in a gunfight or adjust my height in VR chat. It's not even that hard to set up, really. To be fair, I'd call this more of an accessibility option, but I like it anyway.
Clone Hero is the spiritual successor to Guitar Hero and Rock Band. Thanks to its ease of use and the ability to find any song you want online, you can play the near 4,000 console songs or the mere 110,000 custom songs created by the community almost instantly. There's also chart creating tools such as Moonscaper and Reaper, where you can create the charts yourself, and that comes with what I like to call cursed notes. Notes that were never intended or implemented in the original console engines, such as tap chords, reverse extended sustains, open notes on guitar, extended open sustains, reverse open sustains, and whatever the fuck this is. Basically, if it looks cursed, then it is cursed. And the worst part, I made all of the charts that you just saw.
One staple attachment to most, if not all, first and third person shooters is the suppressor or silencer / sound moderator. The ideal tool for stealth, having one of these on your kitted out piece of equipment is invaluable in helping you stay undetected within enemy lines. But what if your enemy was already dead? Silencers in zombie games tend to have a redundancy to them. Yes, you do have the options to add them, or they are on the weapon by default, but the issue often stems from zombies usually having auto-targeting to a set player, often the closest one to them, either at certain ranges or at all time. However, in World War Z the game, not only do you have suppressed weapons readily available, but you are encouraged to use them at almost all times. In almost all chapters, zombies in World War Z will spawn in a dormant state. They do not lock onto a player, nor do they aggro when a player gets close. Rather, they are activated mostly by sound. Firing an unsilenced weapon will alert them, but firing a silenced weapon will only alert them if the shot does not kill. And thankfully, idle zombies are instantly killed by any headshot, even from pistols, which have suppressors by default. This is essentially mandatory, as alerting zombies in this game can, will, and does bring an entire horde that will spend all of your ammo, and will more than likely overrun you if you aren't prepared. In this regard, World War Z suppressors are a great addition.
One second I'm here, next I'm over there. How are I do it? Well, it's thanks to phase shift. Sounds like a weird time travel teleportation mechanic, does it not? Well, that's because it sort of is and isn't at the same time. I've played 2 games that utilize some form of phase shift, Titanfall 2 and Infinite Warfare. In Titanfall 2 mainly, it's bound to your pilot tactical ability, replacing stuff with the zoomer hook, the crack addiction, the bamboozler, or the camp wall. Upon using it, you're teleported to an inverse kind of version of the map where only you and other phase-shifted pilots can exist for a short 40 seconds, allowing you to either confuse the enemies, get to jump on a Titan to steal a battery, or just get out of a guaranteed death for free. What's funnier is, if you're lucky enough to be standing in the same location as another enemy when you exit phase shift, be it on a grunt or another unsuspecting pilot, phase shift actually allows you to telefrag them. Let me make myself clear, you can telefrag people in Titanfall 2. Fucking gnarly.
Crash Bandicoot was the first real PlayStation mascot of the late 1990s, along with Spyro, Parappa the Rapper, and Polygon Man. The original trilogy of platformers on the PS1 was so beloved that they were remastered in 2017 as the Insane Trilogy. Crash 1 itself is a tough-as-nails platformer even today, with its one-hit death similar to Mario in the 2D games. But, just like Mario in the 2D games, there's a power-up that can help with that. See these crates with the TT mashed on them? Spin them around, and Aku Aku spawns in to give you a hit point. And unlike Mario's mushrooms, Aku Aku's powers can stack if you collect more of them. A second crate gives you a second hit point, find a third crate without taking a hit, and you gain 20 seconds of invincibility. Plenty of time to run through every obstacle that could normally kill you, including TNT crates. When the invincibility wears off, you still have the previous two masks around you, meaning the next Aku Aku crate will guarantee you invincibility. And the best part, you will never lose those two masks when you progress to the next level, meaning that you could start the next stage with 2 hit points and easily find the first crate for invincibility. You could theoretically go through the entire game without taking a single death. And they kept Aku Aku's invincibility the same in Crash 2, Crash 3, Crash the Huge Adventure, Crash 2 Entranced, and Crash Purple of all games.
I used to be a Rainbow Six Siege player. I played ranked. I was Gold 1 during Chimera. I even learned how to Bandit trick. And I was so good at it that it caused all of my Ubisoft games to be soft-locked by PlayStation Plus Premium, and I'm still upset about it. While Rainbow Six nowadays is a shell of its former self, and a majority of the higher tier lobbies are full of cheaters, as Far State Gaming can attest to, there is no question that Ubisoft hit gold with the original release many years ago. In an age where the average live service game lasts about a year or two, Siege continues to "thrive," quotation marks, thanks in many part to its unique and growing cast of characters known as operators and their unique gadgets. It is one of these operator gadgets that falls onto this spot on the list, Bandit Shockwire. Yep, in a game with high-tech breaching devices, bulletproof shields, small-scale trophy systems, and a pistol full of magic healing powder, the car battery and jumper cables are my favorite. Operation is simple. Walk up to a metal surface such as a reinforced wall, deployable shield, or barbed wire, and press your interact key or button to activate up to 4 of these high-voltage devices. Any enemy player that makes contact with the electrified surface will take damage over time and have an electric flash over their screen, and will destroy equipment that touches the affected area as well. And as any veteran player will tell you, this thing has tech. See, when a Bandit battery is activated, it instantly destroys anything attached to the wall. You can then pick up the battery and place it back down anytime. This strategy is known as Bandit tricking, and in the early days was a mandatory tactic in high-level play against enemy Thermite and Thatcher combos. Nowadays, Bandit may be outclassed by new operators and has been the victim of many nerfs, but he and his car battery are still beloved by many.
They are rage, brutal, without mercy. But you will be worse. Rip and tear, until it is done.
Berserk is a power-up in Doom that has a sandbox purpose. 1. Heal you back to standard health if you're below 100 HP, and 2. Increase your melee damage tenfold. Normally, Doomguy's Fist deals 2 to 20 damage in multiples of 2, but with the Berserk pack, this damage is increased to a whopping 20 to 200 in multiples of 2. If Doom's pseudo RNG is on your side, then this will be more than enough to knock out a Pinky with a single punch. For reference, the Pinky Demons have 150 health. If you want a good video series on classic Doom stats, mechanics, and much more, I'd advise watching Decino. In June 2016, albeit to a way lesser extent, Berserk is amped up beyond belief. Here, it's been reworked to incorporate the new glory kill system, truly living up to the words rip and tear.
I haven't played Tai 2 anywhere near as much as Tai 1. That's because my childhood PS2 disc couldn't even get to the language select screen. Thankfully, I bought the remaster on PS5, so I can finally play the game properly. And in my short time playing the game, the Lasherangs are proving to be a helpful new addition to the arsenal. It only costs 2,500 opals in the rank shop, and it's worth that price. It can take out enemies at longer ranges than most standard rangs, similar to the old Zoomerangs, but its main feature is its grappling hook ability. This makes traversing areas of the new open world much easier than platforming over with standard other rangs. Chrome even added special pegs into the world so you can grapple through the air to reach crates, opals, or the new platinum cogs, all of which will help you later in the game as they did back in Tai 1.
Procedurally generated environments have been a massive hit recently in gaming, with entries such as No Man's Sky, and to a certain degree Minecraft, showing the scale of creativity one can make with such power. One series that's tried to create its own unique form of procedurally generated content were the Middle-earth games, Shadow of Mordor and its sequel Shadow of War, which both have this system. Hidden in these games is a system designed to create unique enemies using a set of builds, voices, cosmetics, weapons, and additional character traits and abilities. Coined the Nemesis system, this enemy generator will create enemy captains and war chiefs for the player to fight, and in the case of Shadow of War, recruit, ensuring that no two players will ever have the same experience during any given playthrough. If you die to an enemy, even a lesser one, they might get promoted for killing you. When you fight that same enemy again, they will remember you and be confused as to how you're still breathing. The developers unfortunately patented this system so no one else could use it, which is a shame because there is so much that can be done with this much creativity in designing enemies. If you would like to know more about the Nemesis system, AKIS will provide a link in the description to a video explaining it in greater detail.
Here's a favorite of mine. In a galaxy where projectile weapons were seen as ancient tech and obsolete, blasters took a hold of the firearm market. When the Clone Wars broke out in 22 BBY, the newly founded Clone Army got armed with the DC-15 blaster rifle. Clone Commandos, on the other hand, got something way more interesting. The DC-17M Interchangeable Weapon System, more commonly known as the Republic Commando Blaster. Designed by the Blast Tech Company, DC-17M became the weapon of commandos throughout the Clone Wars. An adaptable weapon, the DC-17M is capable of fulfilling multiple combat roles due to its ability to reconfigure into either a standard blaster rifle, a compact semi-automatic sniper rifle, or a breech-loaded fuck-you anti-everything launcher, all depending on the needs of the user and the situation. Honestly, this thing is the biggest fuck you to Super Battle Droids. I love it. However, there's only one reason why I didn't put it higher. It is a low-damage bullet sponge hose. Bar anything from a B1 battle droid, you're gonna have to take multiple magazines to take out an SPD or even a Geonosian warrior. Luckily for you, you're working with a squad, and that squad is not stupid.
Infinite Warfare redefined how weapons can perform in Call of Duty. Never before had this many interesting weapon concepts appeared, from akimbo assault rifles, to accelerating pistols, to plasma launchers. The game has it all. And that's not even getting into the epic variants, such as the Erad Cyclopean or the Augur Fury. The G-Rail is one of those crazy concepts only possible by the year 2187. A semi-automatic Gauss rifle that fires electromagnetically propelled bullets. On the surface, it's a fancy term for a weapon that will kill in a solid 3 hits up close, but then as you aim the weapon for longer, it starts to charge up. And if you fire the weapon as it's charged to the maximum, suddenly it becomes a one-hit kill weapon, just like the snipers and the shotguns. This gives you way more ways to play with the weapon. Do you go for quick taps and consistent damage, or wait a few seconds for a guaranteed kill? It's almost like the TF2 sniper in a way. And that's just for the base weapon, because the variants get crazy. The original variants it had converted it into a burst weapon, with the amount of shots in the burst dependent on the rarity of your variant. Then a few updates later came the variants that converted your gun into full auto. These variants combined with its ADS charge kind of made it overpowered. And then the barrage exists. It gets faster over time. This might just be the most broken gun in the game, but good luck getting your hands on it. It's in an exclusive supply drop collection, which means you can't even unlock it by saving up your salvage. Screw you, vending machine robot.
Double barrel shotguns, one of the oldest, most reliable firearm designs in history, dating back to Doom 2 Heck on Earth with the iconic Super Shotgun in 1994. There is nothing more satisfying than a pair of trigger pulls and a corpse or two being flung across the room. Okay, let's get it out of the way. I like Team Fortress 2, and I mean, who doesn't? It's one of the most influential games on PC, and for a lot of people, a killer title to even make a Steam account in the first place. If only we got some meaningful updates like the Heavy update, Valve, please! Well, while we wait for the impossible, how about we play a game? It's called You're a Scout Main, and the floor is your bedroom life. The soda popper is, well, it's probably the most unique primary in Scout's arsenal. This Boston boy woke up one day and thought to himself, double jumps are pretty neat, and I can use this bat here to jump 3 times. But I think I need more. Like, maybe 6 more. And so Saxton Hale had Manco do some tweaking to this double-barrel shotgun, violated just about every rule in the ATF handbook, strapped a Criticola to it, and bada bing bada boom, the soda popper. Stats are simple on paper. You trade 4 shots for the following benefits. 1. A faster reload and firing speed compared to the Force of Nature. 2. The ability to reload both shots at once, like the Force of Nature. And 3. The height meter, which is charged by dealing damage. Fun fact, this meter used to be charged by just running around. Oh, and in the ancient days before Gunmetal, aka 2015, it would give you mini crits. Yeah! This thing already outdamages the scattergun without any damage boosting abilities or buffs, so why not just let it do even more damage simply by exercising? Eat your damn heart out, Criticola. So what do you get with this height meter? How about more vertical mobility than a rocket jump, without sacrificing your damage output, self-damage, or having to pull out a melee weapon? And if you really hate touching the ground, these jumps stack with the Winger's jump height boost, allowing you to jump out of the 2-Fort sewers. You heard me right, the lead-poisoned sewers of 2-Fort. Not that you want to stay there for any amount of time, though. Yeah, good luck catching me now, you fat bald fat...
What?
Recon said it best. Intel wins wars. Bishop Pulse does exactly what it says on the tin. Legal, temporary wall hacks. In my time of playing a bunch of different games, I've experienced 2 types of vision pulses. Solo-oriented and team-oriented. Solo is as described, it only works for you. Team-oriented means everyone on your team gets the effect of vision pulse. Both have their ups and downs. Solo vision pulses usually charge fast and as such can be used often. The downside is, of course, only you gain the effect. It usually doesn't last very long and has limited range. Best example I can think of is Outrider in Black Ops 3. The other is like Widowmaker in Overwatch or Recon in Black Ops 4. When the ability is active, it lasts for a good amount of time and everyone on your team gains the benefit of seeing enemies through walls. Only downside is, if you're the one activating the vision pulse and you die while it's active, the ability is shut down and you need to recharge it.
Mario Kart has certain items that I like to call power items. Items that can't be dodged outside of special circumstances, such as the lightning, power block, blooper, and of course, the blue shell. Introduced in Mario Kart 64, the primary intention of the blue shell is to home in and take out first place. It was then upgraded in Double Dash by adding a huge explosion around it. And it was further upgraded in Mario Kart 7 by being able to follow you and take you out during a cannon jump. Its appearance in a race also depends on which game you're playing. In 64 and Double Dash, it's quite rare. In 64, the only way you will see a blue shell on the field is if you pick up one of the item boxes that guarantee it, like on Luigi Raceway or Koopa Troopa Beach. In Double Dash, a blue shell is only possible to appear in 150cc, and it only appears about 2 or 3 times. On Wii, expect to see it up to 5 or 6 times, and on CTGP, my record is 11 blue shells in a single race. What makes it a power item is obvious, but each game has its own ways to avoid them. In 64, the shell is practically useless if you throw it in a tight space, because the shell goes wide and misses the Vode entirely before coming back on. It'll just break on a wall if you're not careful. In Double Dash, you can dodge it only by perfectly drifting around the long left-hander in Bowser's Castle, or sometimes it will just randomly disappear from behind you for no reason. In DS, you can dodge it by doing perfect mini turbos in Yoshi and Drybone's vehicles, and in Mario Kart 8, the Super Horn was added to be the perfect counter item. But there are much easier ways to avoid it. Just save up for a high powered item such as a mushroom, star or bullet, and activate them when the shell gets too close. You'll disappear into the distance as your rivals get taken out by the explosion behind.
Weapons in racing games is not an adverse concept. Hell, Death Race was a successful franchise, and games from the family-friendly, friendship-destroying Mario Kart to games like Blur, Mod Nation Racers, and other battle racers have shown the concept is promising. The calling card of Hot Pursuit 2010 and its remaster was twofold. The opportunity to freely play as both cop and racer independently and at any time, as well as the Pursuit Tech system. Each side had 4 weapons to choose from, which would be upgraded as you progressed to higher rankings. Racers would have the Super Turbo, a time boost that would allow you to surpass your normal top speed acceleration at the cost of control. They would also have the Jammer, which would disable the tech of any cops in a pursuit, as well as disable their radar and reveal any roadblocks that may be called in. Cops would have the previously mentioned roadblock, as well as the helicopter that could track racers from far away and drop spike strips to attempt to slow them down. Both sides also had car-loaded spike strips, and my previous pick for this entry, the EMP Pulse.
The first controller I ever held in my hands at the young age of 4 was the original Xbox controller. Yeah, that Xbox controller. It was an experience to say the least. Now, almost 2.5 decades later, I play on the Xbox Series S with an 8-bit Duo Ultimate wired controller. There's a decent amount of reason for this. The first is that the controller is wired, no surprise there. Second is that it's extremely comfortable. But the main reason is because of what's on the back of the grips. Those right there are called paddles, and were once upon a time a very much premium feature on controllers you can only get via third-party vendors like Scuff, via modification of your first-party controller, or via PC like the Steam controller. Rest in peace. The big downsides with vendors like Scuff is that what you buy is hardwired, and you can't modify them on the fly. This is where 8-bit Do comes in. In the 8-bit Do Ultimate software, you can rebind everything on your Ultimate controller, from the face buttons, to swapping the D-pad with the left stick, swapping the 2 sticks, or, depending on if you have the same controller as I have, making multiple profiles to swap between. The standard setup that I have on mine is that controller vibration is completely turned off, including the stupid impulse triggers, and a slight adjustment to the inner dead zone. My profile is B on the left paddle and A on the right paddle, which is for games with advanced movements such as Titanfall 2 or Black Ops 4. That's mostly all I use, but sometimes I swap B for X if the game doesn't have any serious advanced movements like World War 2 or Kart 4 Remastered. It's never gonna top a keyboard and mouse, but it can at least give you that slight edge in public lobbies.
When the Red Bull X1 was first introduced in Gran Turismo 5, it was designed as the ultimate racing car, unrestricted by any and all regulations. We all expected this to be the fastest car in the series for a long time. But lo and behold, 5 years later, the 1.2 update for Gran Turismo 6 gave us a car that changed the series for the better. The 2035 SRT Tomahawk X Vision Gran Turismo. Not so much of a car, more like a weapon. A 7-litre V10 with an astonishing 2,600 horsepower and a top speed of almost 400 miles an hour. Its performance is better seen to be believed, not just in terms of its speed, but in ability to take corners like a jet fighter, brake like hitting the solid wall, and even outrunning the fucking racing line. When I took this thing to the Nordschleife in VR, I genuinely had to take a break after every flying lap. Its performance is so ridiculous that it's both physically and mentally taxing to try and drive at its peak. But after one attempt of near perfection, I managed to set a decent lap time of 3 minutes 40.8 seconds.
Double barrel shotguns. One of the oldest, most reliable firearm designs in history. There is nothing more satisfying than a pair of... Hang on a minute, weren't we just here? Who messed with my script? Claptrap! Ah, Borderlands. Nothing quite like the life of a Vault Hunter, is there? Especially with the vast variety of weapons you have access to. And I guarantee every one of them is someone's favorite somewhere, somehow. Sniper rifles that fire acid rounds fully automatically. Small caliber pistols with side-loaded drum magazines. Or maybe you are interested in a gun that insults you as you fire it. Yeah, all of these are fun. But I need something with a little more identity. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, from the pre-sequel, this is the Boomacorn. 1 part boomstick, 1 part unicorn, 1 part opath. See, weapons in Borderlands tend to have elemental affinities. Fire, corrosive, shock, and explosions are all options. But you see, the Boomacorn takes affinities and cheats, and I don't just mean with one, it sleeps with the whole ass chat. By that, I mean it fires 8 pellets, 2 of every damage type, and as if that isn't already insane, it whinnies! Nah, it doesn't get better than that.
Nobody, and I mean nobody, can argue that ragdolls in video games aren't funny as all hell. Ragdolls are without a doubt a staple in any video game that uses some form of physics engine. Just get a well-placed rocket, grenade, or god forbid, A-10 airstrike, and look as you send people flying into the upper stratosphere. Some examples of games with utterly hilarious ragdolls include but are not limited to Modern Warfare 2019's Precision Airstrike, Wheelson and Cruise Missile, Advanced Warfare Standard Melee Attack, Half-Life 2's Explosive Barrels, just about anything to do with Team Fortress 2, and to a certain extent, Garry's Mod's Physics Gun. Quite frankly, the sky isn't the limit, it's the physics engine. If a game you're playing utilizes some form of Havoc physics, get ready for a laughing fit that'll make you develop a six-pack.
No one heals themselves by wounding another. Whoever said that's clearly never heard of the black box in TF2. A side-grade weapon to the stock rocket launcher modeled on the M202 Flash. It has 1 positive stat and 1 negative stat. 1 less rocket in its magazine, but you can gain up to 20 health on a successful hit, either from direct damage or from splash. This can be a perfect launcher to use in casual if your team doesn't have many, if any, medics on your team, and it can be stacked with the Contra's passive health ability. But it also gains more health with more accurate shots, so it rewards you for getting closer into the fight. Be wary about your ammunition, however. With only 3 rockets in the magazine, you may find yourself constantly reloading if you miss your intended targets, which in turn may get you killed in the thick of a fight.
A lot of video games and movies tend to use an abundance of explosions as a way to hit a crescendo in moments of tense action. Anybody who's watched a Michael Bay movie can attest to this. A protagonist bombastically fleeing some random irrelevant building that contains a bomb on the verge of exploding. Just getting out of the blast radius in the nick of time. Riveting! Just one slight problem. This isn't an action movie. This is just rush hour traffic. And this isn't even an action hero protagonist. It's just some random psycho with a fabricated driver's license in a multi-million-dollar Indy car with a bomb strapped to the engine. Ah, Burnout, how I miss you. Well, there are some rumors of the franchise getting a reboot. At least we have the classics to reminisce on. And what better way to do it than to highlight its famous Crash Breaker. Introduced in Burnout 3's Crash Mode and expanded to be used in races in Burnout Revenge and the PlayStation 2 exclusive Burnout Dominator, the Crash Breaker may have gone through some changes in every game, whether it be a power-up to aim for, a charged explosion prompted with button mashing, or a simple way to say, no you, don't pass go, and do not collect $200 to every rival racer within some bullshit RNG amount of distance from you. There is no question every gamer who played Burnout enjoyed what it brought to the table.
Titanfall 1 and 2 is a pair of games I have a soft spot for. Advanced, futuristic movement in combat accompanied by giant armored hulking mechas of war called Titans. There's Strider, which is mostly seen as an on-demand nuclear bomb thanks to the Nuke Eject Titan perk. Then there's Atlas, who is a glass cannon with damage core. Now what happens if you take everything about the Atlas and Strider, make it the bulkiest Titan available, and make it focused on tanking as much damage as possible before going down? Well, you get the HKA-02/A Ogre in Titanfall 1, as well as its variants Scorch and Legion in Titanfall 2. Ogre Titans are the bullet sponges of Titanfall, serving as the bulldozers of this game's arsenal that are meant to dish out good amounts of damage and also take near equal amounts of it back. While a Strider has 5,500 health points including its shield, the Ogre sits at an astonishing 10,500 health points plus shield. If you're lucky, the 40mm cannon would have to land roughly, I don't know how many shots to doom your Titan. And that's not even counting shield core, cutting all incoming damage to your Titan's energy shield by half, essentially giving you double the shield health. You're basically the walking definition of I get confused for an M1A2 Abrams. In Titanfall 2, Ogre Titans became specialized in the form of the walking, talking war criminal known as Papa Scorch, and the absolute joke of a class known as Legion. Call me a pyromaniac because I can't even count on 2 hands the amount of legions I have backed up into a corner and cooked well done with a thermal shield. Like, fight back, damn you! This is so easy, it's not even funny!
Colin McRae Rally 2 came out in June 2000, but one thing I didn't discover until many years later were its cheat codes, and unlike the WRC series that came out 1 year later, the cheat codes in CMR2 were designed to cause pure chaos. We'll go through the ones that I think are the most fun and interesting. First we have Monster Truck, which gives you these giant wheels with their own physics, and they look hilarious on a 2-litre rally car. Next, there's Turbo Boost, which replaces the handbrake with an instant burst of acceleration. Be careful using it, because you'll roll when you reach the higher speeds. The last one for standard rallies is Bouncy Collisions, which sends you flying all over the place like a tennis ball if you dare to tap anything off of the beaten path. It's so violent that in certain circumstances, you can even break out of the map entirely. The last one is reserved for arcade mode, Fireball, and I'm just going to let the gameplay show this one off. It replaces your handbrake with an actual fireball, and getting hit launches you to Narnia with an incredible crash. If you try and get into the lead, the CPUs will chuck fireballs at you, turning a once serious battle for the lead into a game of dodge. The speed of the fireball is relative to your own speed, so if you've just been hit and looking for revenge, try to catch up first before serving up a Burnout approved takedown.
AKIS mentioned earlier that ragdolls are among the funniest things you can find in gaming, and I agree, this is true, I cannot argue. However, they failed to bring up one of the games with the best ragdoll physics ever, Killing Floor 2. Oh my word, this game is wild fun. Tripwire Interactive mixed horde shooters with skill tree building elements, sprinkled in a little bit of witty comedy, and struck gold. And I am very excited for the upcoming release of Killing Floor 3, but oh my word, I have to mention this game's ragdoll physics, specifically the shotgun corpse launches. There is a class called the Support, and it has access to several shotgun-related upgrades, which will mainly be focusing on damage, penetration, and most importantly, knockback. Different shotguns have different levels of performance. The M4, AA-12, and the 2 pump-action shotguns are fairly good, but the double-barrel boomstick and the mother of all knockback, the doomstick, are where the fun really gets found. You can alt-fire these to fire both boomstick barrels, or all 4 doomstick barrels. Proper form is to crouch, aim at head level, and watch the body eject itself into lower orbit. Best use of my time ever.
Back in the years leading up to the Xbox One and PS4, with built-in capture software, the only real way you would be able to record footage of your console was with a video grabber or a PVR box. There were budget alternatives like the cheap Easy Caps and the Pinnacle Dazzle, and then there were the Hop-Hog HD PVRs. But those were external set-top boxes with a significant preview delay, used composite or component video, and expected you to use some form of pass-through to view the game on a TV. Hell, they weren't even meant to record live gameplay in the first place. But if you wanted the utmost quality back in the day, you went to Elgato or AverMedia for their internally mounted PCI Express capture cards. Quite simply, I have an HD60 Pro in my recording computer, and it has not failed me yet after all these years.
I'm prepared for everyone to go off this video, but whatever. Senran Kagura is a Japanese fighting series of its main selling point being female shinobi with humongous breeds. And would you believe this series started on the 3DS of all consoles? My favourite girl in both the anime and the games is Katsuragi. She's hot-blooded, overconfident and an absolute nuisance. But she also wields these monstrous gauntlet boots. She can kick her way through her opposition like nothing else. Plus, it's one of the only square attacks that you can charge up in the series. And if you upgrade her levels for more power, you can 1 or 2 shot most major enemies with just a single charged triangle kick. But with all the power she has in close range combat, she's pretty clunky to use compared to most of her other friends. Plus, she's weak against characters that use long range attacks, like certain swords, or the ones using guns. But if you can get close to them and plant those huge boots into their face, chances are you're taking a huge chunk of their health along with it. Fiery power that goes with her fiery personality.
The year is 2007. My dad went to the family video in my hometown to rent a movie, and I asked him to go to the video game section and find me a copy of Burnout Revenge to use for the weekend. He never found it, but he got something else thinking it would suffice. This game was Flatout 2. You guys know Wreckfest, yeah? Well, the developers, Bugbear, before they had Wreckfest, there was Flatout. Flatout 2, and 2's HD remake, Ultimate Carnage, were great games in their prime. And they all held all of the traits that Wreckfest does. Derbies, great racing mechanics, and an emphasis on the state-of-the-art damage model. However, one feature that is missing from Wreckfest was Flatout's calling card. If you hit an opponent with enough force at the right angle, or they did it to you, the driver would be comically ejected from the windshield like a puppet, accompanied by comedically loud screaming, thud, and splat. What's more, Flatout designed an entire game mode around this feature, called Stunts. Play bowling, basketball, baseball, skip your driver like a stone, chuck them through rings of fire, or even play poker. I'm honestly disappointed that the failure of Flatout's later entries led to the closure of the series, and with it, the death of this unique and comedic feature. At least we have Gary's mod.
I'm not a good sniper by any major stretch of the imagination, but I do have a soft spot for weapons like the Team Fortress 2 sniper rifles, the Black Ops 3 Locust, and the COD 4 M40. That's because they all have something in common. They're capable of quickscoping. Now, I bet a very small portion of you watching this video don't even know what this quickscoping is, so let me show you a clip of what it looks like. That was a quickscope. Free, in fact. One thing you saw with all those free kills was that it wasn't scoped in for more than a second, if not less, at any given time. That's what gives quickscoping its name. You scope in and shoot in rapid succession. There exists a massive community of snipers entirely revolving around this practice. Two that I recommend you go watch for entertaining sniping is Carnage Rage and Phase Scope. Lots of naming conventions exist just to define what any specific chain of kills is called. There's quad feeds, 5-ons, 6-ons, you name it, and it most likely exists in the Sniper Encyclopedia. And the main draw to quickscoping for me and most others is the dopamine you get from doing it. It's often been said that repeatedly doing something over and over can wear out your enjoyment of it, but sniping and quickscoping just isn't like that in the slightest. The complete randomness of every lobby, sniper rifles with unique performance stats like the NA-45, the PO6, the Moors, ways of handling and use, to the variety of games you can snipe in is endless. Hell, only recently we saw COD history get made with the World at War 6 on Bolt. To sum it up, it's a fun activity that in my eyes will never grow stale.
Everyone has played Guitar Hero at some point in their life. Sure, we had DDR and Donkey Konga beforehand, but Guitar Hero single-handedly kickstarted the rhythm game boom of the late 2000s. Its success was unprecedented, so much that Guitar Hero 3 was the first game to ever gross $1 billion in sales, when its main rival was everything else in 2007. Part of what made the series a big sales success was an aspect of its gameplay. These special notes here that are shaped like stars. Hit every one of them in a section and you gain a slab of electrical power. Hit a second one of these and then you can activate Star Power. This immediately increases your multiplier to double and lasts for 4 measures. If you decide to hold onto it for even longer, you can maximize its timer for up to 8 measures. Later on in the series' life, it was even possible to gain Star Power while already having it activated, leading to absurd lengths of time being boosted by its multiplier. Seriously, look how long I kept Star Power going for in Frankenstein. Star Power has 2 uses in the series. For the casual player who might be struggling, it can be used to quickly save yourself from failing out of a song and having to retry. For the veteran going for a full combo, it can be used as a way to climb the scoreboard using a technique called pathing. This is deliberately waiting for the perfect moment to activate so you can gain the most amount of points possible. Pathing even has its own sub-technique called squeezing, which abuses the game's engine to cram as many notes possible for much more score. It's a very fun element of gameplay that not only helps newer players continue enjoying the songs, but also keeps the competitive aspect thriving, as small optimizations are still being discovered on most songs to this very day. And yet I still prefer Donkey Konga 2.
I've probably made this obvious already, but my passion in gaming has always been racing. You can see that in the list I've already conjured up. Need for Speed, Burnout, and Flatout are all represented in their own various ways. But all of these games share something in common. They are franchises with multiple games released, a feat which cannot be said for Disney's Split Second. Yes, you heard me correctly, this game was created with direction from Disney. Split Second is a sort of cult classic in the racing community, one of those games that you hear from word of mouth and think, really? That seems pretty cool. The premise of Split Second is that you are participating in a game show, where the goal is to win races and progress to the championship. Already showing relations to Death Race, we get to Split Second's calling card, the Power Plays. The mechanics are simple. Each track has set locations where a power play can be activated. To activate one, you need to build up this meter at the bottom by doing various actions like drifting. Once a portion of this meter fills up, a prompt will appear above cars that can be affected by a power play. Just press the associated key or button and watch magic happen. And this isn't the end. Power plays have levels to them. Blue icons are level 1, red icons are level 2, and you can also use these to take shortcuts or even change the entire layout of the track itself, with associated dramatic cutscenes.
And that does it. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.